Hello everyone. Today we are going to review the movie The Dictator, starring Sacha Baron Cohen, Anna Faris, and a couple other people. Just give me a second here, and I'm gonna actually pull it up. The Dick... Oh, come on. There it is. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess even though he wasn't really one of the main people, John C. Reilly was part of it, I suppose. And who was... God, why is he not here? Jason Man... Mantzoukas? Also, Megan Fox was in this movie, although she didn't have a very big role in it. She was just kind of there for like 1-2 minute scene, I think, basically, where they end up sleeping together. So the main cast was Sacha Baron Cohen, Anna Faris, and Ben Kingsley. So we have Sacha Baron Cohen, who played Aldine, and also the other guy too that was his double in the movie. So this is a comedy movie about a dictator in the, I believe, Middle East, somewhere, the Republic of Wadea. Not really sure exactly where that is, but so dictatorship is basically one person rules all, and there's a very specific set of rules that they can set in place, I suppose. And he has no problem doing it at first. One of his doubles is shot, so his, I guess, second in command, Tamir, decides that, well, obviously they're scouting for a new double, right? So they find a guy that looks just like him, and then he's creating nuclear weapons. So the UN is starting to become suspicious of that. So he has to go to the US to confront the UN on the fact that they actually aren't creating nuclear weapons, and so on and so forth, because he's been charged with other war crimes, I guess, too. So, Aldine, now what was his full name? I wish it said here. Oh, Admiral General Aldine, I guess is... He did have a full name, though. Hafez Aladdin, I guess was his full name here, or according to what was written here. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of different... interesting. Anyhow, so we know him as General Aldine. We'll just go with that. So anyway, when he comes over to America, he ends up being... there's an assassination attempt on him. Thank you to John C. Reilly's character, who was Clayton. Supposed to be one of his security detail, but ends up flipping and trying to kill him. Fails in the process, ends up killing himself. Not on purpose, but actually by lighting his... I guess he shaved his beard off somehow, and it was like in a perfect ball almost, and then tries to light it on fire for whatever reason, and ends up lighting himself on fire and killing himself in the process. So then General Aldine gets away, but now he has no beard, so he's not recognizable. So he ends up running into this girl, Anna Faris' character Zoe, who is basically protesting anything General Aldine is doing. She's in this big group, and then he's going off about that's not the real Aldine in the car, right? And then he realizes that Tamir set him up to have him killed, so he's yelling at him, and then he tries to get over the wall into the UN building. To no avail, though. He ends up getting riot hosed off of it, and then this whole thing breaks out, and Zoe picks him up and takes him over to Manhattan side of New York, He ends up working for her for a long time, and then at one point he ends up seeing this guy who he thinks is Nadal. So he follows Nadal into this restaurant, which is basically the, I guess, epicenter of everybody he's ever had assassinated. But turns out that he didn't actually kill anybody. Turns out the person who was in charge of the assassinations, I guess, was a freedom fighter, so he ended up being one of the good guys. So, or part of the resistance, I believe, was what Nadal said. So that was kind of funny. It was just like, oh my god, everybody he's assassinated ended up moving to the States to get away from him because they didn't want a dictatorship anymore, and they knew that whatever they said to against him was going to get them killed, right? So I guess General General Aldine didn't like, or Aladdin, geez, didn't like the design of the missile, so he tried to have Nadal killed in the beginning of the movie. And I guess it looked like he had him killed, but obviously they're all living there. So Nadal still wants a dictatorship. But Tamir is trying to vote for democracy. So that would be like an open voting system rather than, just one person getting constantly voted in, because nobody is going to rule against that, right? So they hire this double, and they think the double is going to sign the papers, but the entire time Aladdin is trying to get back in, and ends up doing it, and at the very end he rips up the paper for the, I guess he had to sign some sort of bill to make it into a democracy, but he ends up just ripping out the paper because clearly he still wants a dictatorship. He wants to be the best dictator he can be. So he actually ends up falling in love with Zoe over the movie while he's working for her. I know he kind of takes over the store in one part finally and turns it completely around for her, like her business. He turns it completely around for her, so that was kind of cool of him. And then he ends up falling in love with her, and they end up getting married at the end. And that's kind of basically the whole story. He kind of changes as a human being throughout the movie. From being like the bad guy to being the good guy, even though you could kind of say like the voting system at the end was definitely still in his favor due to some of the underhanded things that he did to make sure that people voted for him, because he still got 98% of the popular vote. So we know there was something going on there, right? That he still got voted in even though he was a better person. He still obviously didn't want to give up his position of power. So there was a lot of humor in this that seems to be becoming a reality as of today in the world we live in now. So I guess this guy was kind of thinking ahead of his time, I suppose, as opposed to some of his humor. And some of his humor is quite edgy, if you know Sacha Baron Cohen. And I don't think if this movie was made today that it would have been received very well due to the fact that some of it was stereotypical humor. I don't want to say racial because that wouldn't be right, but it was it was covering a certain stereotype. I would say that I mean, I don't know what nationality he is, but he always does a good job of getting into a certain character, regardless of who it is. He's a very, I guess, good, is that method acting? A good method actor? He can always get into, he always does a very good job of whatever character he's playing. I guess that is technically method acting, isn't it? Because when you have to really do something, you kind of try to become the person that you're portraying. Yeah, that's method acting, isn't it? So yeah, but anyway, the humor was very edgy. I would give this movie about a... I think I'm going to give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Just because, again, the humor is dated. I know everything humor changes as we go along. I know with comedy you're supposed to be kind of edgy as well. It just makes sense, and he definitely delivers on that part. Overall, I would say this movie was actually pretty funny. I kind of forgot a lot of it, and how some of it went, but I would say the storyline was actually pretty good, even though it was supposed to be comical in nature, and he definitely pushes the boundaries on that again for sure. But yeah, but 7.5 out of 10, just because maybe this comedy's dated and some of it was just a little, I don't know, like some of it was just weird, like almost didn't even need to be there. Just some of the secondary characters, I would say, were kind of just there to be there in the movie, I guess, maybe because it was just a Sacha Baron Cohen movie and they really wanted to be part of it. It almost feels like Sacha Baron Cohen is like the Sharknado of comedy. Everybody wants to be in the movie just to be in the movie kind of thing because they know it's gonna, no matter what he does, it's going to bring an audience. So I suppose that makes sense. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say. I've told the story, kind of given my criticisms of it. I still did enjoy this movie. I don't know if I would like. It's not a movie I would like keep revisiting constantly and constantly over and over and over again. Like once you've seen it once or twice, you're probably good because once you've seen it a couple times, you know you're going to get every joke out of it, and it kind of just becomes stale after a certain amount of times, I suppose. So it's not a movie you would want to watch like a weekly thing, if you know what I mean. But other than that, as always, like, share, comment, like, share, subscribe. Good Lord, I'm losing my train of thought today. And comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it, and if not, still go watch it because it's probably worth the watch. Although, I would say if you're easily offended, don't go watch this movie. Definitely don't go watch this movie. Because it might have been well received in 2012, but I don't think in 2021. Oh, that's kind of funny. It would get the same reception if it was just kind of created today. So I'm glad it was from the last decade and not this decade. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.